So, welcome to the podcast, the first episode of Youth Today and Adults of Tomorrow. Hey, I'm your host, Trinity Norris. This is my podcast, and these are three of my best friends. I have other best friends, but I wanted this to be just the four of us because we are the only Black people in our group of friends. And based on everything that's been happening, I thought it would be best to be just the four of us, right? So, I'm Trinity. I already introduced myself. So let's go oldest to youngest and introduce yourself, Ramona.
Hi, I'm Ramona.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
19. Okay. Anecia, you're next.
I'm Anecia. I'm 17.
Okay. And then Tania. Tanya.
I'm out. And I'll be right back. Anyway, hi, I'm Tania.
Can you stay at what place while we do this? You're going to be the main one who away from your phone every 5 seconds.
For 2 seconds, I came back. Yes, I'm Tanya, and I'm 17.
Okay. So, I had sent you guys some things that we wanted to talk about mainly today. And the first thing was, what was the first thing? Oh, okay. So like as Black like women and girls, I'm a girl. Well, growing up, was there anything that like your parents always had to tell you, or as a society, your friends or your teachers, or just felt always implemented to you as a young child that you had to use to grow up quick? So let's go one at a time. Does anybody want to go first?
Well, like, I feel like basic things. I don't think it was like anything that involved my race per se until I got older, when we started having conversations about that. Like main things like don't talk to strangers. If I'm not with you, don't go anywhere. Don't stray away from me in stores, stuff like that. But I feel like that's stuff every child has to worry about because, like, yeah. But I think when I got older, it was when we started talking about other things. Be like, oh, there's people that will kidnap you because you're Black, or there's people that.
How much older was older? Because
it, like, honestly, when I was little, like from the age to like fetus to like maybe 12-ish, I didn't really have to worry about all that. My mom wanted me to be a kid, so wasn't concerned about things race-wise. To be honest, I didn't really know about race like that, like the problem, really. I wasn't really informed about that type of stuff until later on, when I started to be like, oh snap, yeah, there's actually people killing people that are Black, and that's like the only reason.
And you're saying you realized this like around like 13, 14 years old?
Yeah, like it never really concerned me before. I don't want to say it didn't concern me. I guess I just didn't know, so I was ignorant to it.
Right. But like that's the thing. Like you say, like 13 years old is older, but like 13 years old is a baby.
Yeah, I think that's what because I think 13 was around the time the Trayvon Martin case thing happened.
Right. I was in middle school, elementary school when that all happened.
Mm-hmm. That was the very first time that I saw someone actually kill someone because of the color of their skin. Before that, that was like foreign to me, I guess. Like I knew people were racist, but I didn't know cops were out here like killing people because of how they looked. I really wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Well, based on experiences, my parents sort of kind of like, I've been a sheltered child, so they kind of really avoided the problem until it was in your face. And even then, they wouldn't tell me much. They would try and keep me at home as much as possible so that nothing would happen. But if I were to go out, they would say things like, you can't, like, don't be careful who you talk to, don't talk a certain way, don't make eye contact with people, and keep your hands out of your pockets and shit like that.
So to not seem like a danger to others, but you're just a kid.
Yeah. And I think that was like middle school, elementary school. And I used to walk to school all the time. And there was a bunch of neighborhoods where I walked to school. So they would always be like, oh, don't talk to anybody. And it offers you like a ride, or if they offer you to like, even as I had friends that were also white or of other races, they were like, don't go into cars with them. You don't know them, even if they're your friends.
Right. And we're all Haitians, so usually like our parents would be like more like willing to let us do things if we were surrounded by a group of like other Haitians or Black people, or rather than like our white friends, because they didn't know our white friends' parents. Because some
Even if
white people are secretly racist.
they knew their parents, I think that they still fear that like it doesn't matter if you're racist, even
Right.
if you're.
I was reading about that story about that woman who went to like an adult sleepover. She was the only Black woman there, and she was found dead in the backyard. And
And they're
yeah, and it's like, can you imagine like being a Black woman and feeling safe with a bunch of white people for them to be like secretly racist and like take advantage of your friendship and your friendliness, and then you end up dying because of it? I remember the first time like I realized that like Black people and white people being divided was a thing, because I'm mixed, and so like I grew up with like a white grandma and white aunts and uncles, and I also had my Haitian family, so white people and Black people being divided wasn't really a concept that I really understood. But the first time I realized that is that when I was at the store and a white lady called me a mutt, and it was kind of confusing because I was like, well, because like I understood the concept of like what a mutt was. It was like a mixed like dog, but I was like, what is wrong with that? You know, it's one of those things you never really think about until like someone else points it out, because it's like racism isn't inherent. It's something that's taught. Um, so let's talk about like something else. So we all know that recently there have been a bunch of protests and um, all across the country in the name of every Black person who has died as a result of police brutality. I just wanted to get your opinions on the protests, the riots, and the looting.
When it comes to the protest, awesome, love to see it. The rioting and looting, I feel like the people that are looting are taking advantage of the protest. The people that are rioting, like burning down places, fighting cops, I think it's because they're angry. I'm not saying that it's right per se, but
I judge them for doing it.
yeah, I can't really judge them. Like, as a person that's Black, like maybe my opinion's biased. I hope that it's not. But if you look at it from a Black perspective, you've been tormented down your generation for 400 years.
And
You
this
can't
generational trauma.
Yeah, like, so you can't keep poking at a bear and expect it not to attack you. You see?
Right.
Like, animals that have a lot of patience, consider that like a human being. You can't poke at something, and continuously take, and they continuously forgive you or let it go. And then you expect them to just continuously do that. Like 400 years of peace, there's only been 2 other similar situations to this, but the only difference between our generation is the fact that we have video recordings. Video recordings wasn't a thing. So these type of protests went swept under the rug, like the 1965 protests and the 1992 protests. Those things are very similar to what's happening now, but not to this large scale, and it wasn't documented before.
It's because like we, the Black community, knew what was happening. We all knew from word of mouth because we've experienced similar things, and so when someone told us something, we would believe it. That was before video recording, and the white people didn't believe it because they're like, how are you gonna tell us that these things are happening when you don't have any photos, when the cops are coming out and admitting that they're doing these horrible acts? But now in these days we can record them and show white people, and they're realizing like, we didn't know this was happening. And Black people are like, we've been telling you, we told you it's been happening for years and years and years, but you didn't believe us because you didn't see it.
And what's crazier is just like now that we can video record it, there's still people out there saying, well, oh, Black people make up most of the prison system, or maybe he was resisting arrest, still saying these things even though recorded. And what's crazy about that, statistically speaking, white people make up the prison system. 59% of crimes are white. 39%.
But they're not arrested or they're undercharged for their crimes.
And on top of that, they like what's crazier is just that if you take like a jar of marbles, the United States is predominantly white.
Right.
Take a jar of marbles, let's say 75 of those marbles are blue and the other rest of those marbles are red. You're going to intentionally try to grab the red ones.
Because yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like people say, like you can't compare, Black people make up most of the crime system. They're selected and picked out because if you look at it, white people outnumber us.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about statistics is, if you look at the National Statistics Board crime, they're pulled from a population, and the way statistics is, you do simple random sampling or random number generated sampling or hat distribution. It doesn't matter. There's convenience sampling, and then there's assigned sampling. There are different types of sampling. So depending on the type of sampling that you get from the population that you inquire from, it all shapes the statistics you want. So you can actually garner statistics from what you want based on the sample that you're getting, whether it be sample or, I don't know, just
a guy who was trying to say that Black people make up majority of the prison system showed this statistic, like a statistic chart that he found. And it was this guy who's really good at math. And he was like, well, based on your statistics, you can't say that it's accurate because it only asks 500,000 people.
Exactly.
There's 7 million people in the world. You can't base off, they make up most of the crime system based on 500,000 people. That doesn't even make up half of the U.S. And
also sometimes these surveys are biased because they'll ask white people if they've had crimes committed to them by Black people. And you think racist people aren't going to lie about being attacked by a Black person?
Yeah, so
wait, one at a time. Anecia or Tania?
The surveys geared towards the sampling, they're a mix of a lot of things. It's like psychology and math that, frankly, the math that they're doing, it's not ethical math in my opinion, because if they're going to take a simple random sample to garner information for a crime system, you get a bigger, better population. I've taken AP Stats for a year. I mean, I would the best at stats, but I knew enough to know that the way they were pulling the numbers was intentional. They were pulling numbers, the people, the white supremacists, the racists that are pulling these numbers to justify their reasons for being racist. They're pulling numbers that are literally for their cause. They're ignoring all the other information and just using what they're benefited by. And that's not the way you research things.
Right. It's like, okay. Anecia or Ramona, do you want to say anything?
I would say, like, when it comes to the numbers, a lot of statistics based on just what I would say the Black minority is kind of what you guys would say made up, because they're trying to make it seem bigger than it is sometimes. Not every person is a criminal or a thug. And people do lie about when they have been attacked. Who wouldn't love a good story about some white woman being attacked by a Black man late night in an alley? Like, who wouldn't love to know, Black people are racist.
Right.
So they eat that stuff. They love to do whatever they think will make the public feel a certain type of way about a certain type of race. And when it comes to Black people, there's never anything good about us, because we're always seen as the people who do this, who do that to people. We can't even have nice things. Like, that's a problem for others. Like, I've heard a man, he's never heard of a Black person owning a nice house or a nice car. Like,
the thing about that is they don't realize how racist and stereotypical that's.
Right. And also, like, the thing about like Black people being thugs or like making up the majority of gangs, is that we live in a society where in the place that we live that is predominantly Black or minority is underfunded. We don't get the proper education. Our teachers don't get paid enough. And sometimes there are private schools in these small minority communities, but they are so expensive and impossible to get into. And when you have this type of situation for young minorities or young Black people, they have no choice but to resort to gangs or stealing or anything to get food on the table and provide for their family and have a roof over their head. They have to resort to these things as a last resort, and it's not fair.
On top of what you're saying, I feel like white people should never comment on, oh, they're in gangs or oh, blah, 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 because back when slaves were first freed and everything like that, they built specific undermade buildings and housing and everything for Black people, which we call the ghetto or the projects.
Right.
That was typically for us, not to mention that they say that minorities, like especially Black people, are underpaid. So it's like, you can't sit here and act like, oh, we chose to be in this situation. Right. We're not paid correctly. And then you build these specific type of living for us, and other minorities. Hispanics can agree too, because they're stuck in the same situation. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you can't be mad at the system you created and then people retaliate or people act a certain way because they have no other choice. If you have no set education system that's looking out for you, you have no money to go to college and stuff, what other thing do you have to rely on other than a gang? That's the only way you're gonna make money.
And then people, specifically white people or Asians, I see, are saying that Black people have Black privileges because we can get grants, we can get loans, we can get scholarships for being Black. But these are not a privilege. This is a bone. They're throwing us a bone because they're saying, listen, we provided you a horrible, horrible life, and now we're going to provide you a small thing. We're going to let you go to college. But after you go to college, you have to try to get a job with better, like you have a better resume than your other colleagues, but you will not be chosen because you are Black, or you have a Black sounding name, or because this, that, and the third, because you live in this type of house, or you have this, that, and the third. Jobs are so hard to get for Black people because they think that we cannot be proper. They think that we cannot perform the same as our white peers. And even though we have the same type of qualifications or even better qualifications, we won't be chosen because we're seen as more aggressive or less intelligent, and it doesn't make any sense.
And the whole less intelligent thing is also passed down because, one, they didn't give us proper education. So the whole talking like a Black person, that's not what it is. Ebonics English. We didn't get the same education as the white kids, so we didn't speak English as well as the white kids. So the way that everybody likes to talk, be like, oh, why are you trying to talk Black? It's Ebonics English, which was technically made by us due to the circumstances that we didn't get good education. So when people try to say, oh, we're unintelligent, you're on this, you're on this, this is like, but it's partially, it's your fault. Like, your ancestors did this to people down the line.
And you're still implementing it today.
Yeah, by saying, oh, why do you talk like that? I'm just like, bitch.
And what? Black people love to make jokes about having their white people voice, right? Like, have you ever had a situation where, like, you're hanging around your mom and your mom is on the phone and she's like, yes, hello, this is blah, 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 blah. And then she mutes her phone call because you're starting to get loud. She's like, shut the fuck up, what you doing, blah, 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 blah. She switches off. She goes back to her English. This is a defense mechanism that we have installed. We have our natural sounding Ebonics, but then we have to switch to our quote unquote white people voice so that we can be taken seriously, so that we can be seen as classy or intelligent.
And what's crazy about that, I never had any Ebonics type talking when I was younger. It's almost like my mom made sure of that I was able to speak, proper, quote unquote. And looking back when I was a kid, because I was very articulated as a 2-year-old, like I could talk, like I could speak for myself. I didn't need anyone to speak for me. So people would always say things, be like, oh, she speaks so well. Like, right. How did you do that? Like, almost like I'm a dog that was trained.
Right, that you taught how to do like
yeah. Like, bro, it's not a compliment saying, oh, she's so well behaved. Should I not be?
Right.
Kind of weird to even say, because I bet you if a white kid was coming talking the same way that I was, it wouldn't be, oh, he's so well behaved. Be like, oh, you have a very smart son, just something like that. but it's like you guys say weird
And
things
then
that
people wanna make like jokes about like being dumb or being hood. They have to implement the Ebonics. For what reason? Like, does talking like you're a black person automatically make you less intelligent? Does it automatically make you more funny? Because like if you were doing it in your regular voice, I bet you 100% that your joke would not be funny at all.
It's just the stereotypes. That's the problem. It's just they stereotype into all these categories. Or if I do this, I'm ghetto. If
Right.
I
and
do
it's
like
even
this,
that.
I'm hood. If I like talk to certain type of people, oh, I'm from wherever. Like, it's just the stereotypes. It's just so annoying where you have to be categorized into a certain part for no reason. Like,
And that's also annoying because they like to say, oh, this is ghetto, or like moving our hands is ghetto. But the thing about that is everyone likes to do it though. We started it, but when we do it, it's ghetto. Someone
And
that's like,
the thing, like the cultural appropriation in today's society against black people has been so normalized that when we tell them that we're like you're stealing from us, or like we'll let you do it, but don't call us ghetto when we do the same thing. Like white gays have been taking from like black culture, specifically black women, for years on years and years. And when they say sis and honey and on fleek, and they take like our phrases in our gestures and our voice and our pronunciation, suddenly they're queen. Okay, they're a god, they're a goddess, they're all this, they're that. And then when we do it, we're like, hey, what's up, sis? Like, we say the same things, we do the same gestures. Suddenly we're ghetto, we're angry black women who don't know how to act.
and then the thing about this, if they had any common sense, this is not ghetto. That is so we don't mess up our hair. Our hair is itchy, so we're doing this. Or we take like a pen or something and we just go like that. That's not ghetto. You're not trying to mess it.
it's better to pat it than to scratch it because you'll be causing more. You're making it worse. So it's better to just pat it down.
Proves it if they would
Because
actually.
we created hairstyles to seem more proper and classy to you, but we have to maintain those hairstyles. So we created gestures to maintain our classy and put together hairstyles. But now suddenly it's ghetto because
Like patting your ghetto, it's soothing the itch that's going on. Because even when you itch your actual hair, it doesn't make it better. It just starts itching more. People just
and it's just like people are going around like, oh, we came up with all these like styles. It's just, no, you didn't. That came from the original black culture. The box braid you're wearing, that's from the black culture. The wrap you're wearing, that's from the black culture.
And people love to gatekeep communities that were created by black people. Like rock and roll was created by a black woman, and people want to gatekeep rock and say that it's only for white people who wear dark clothing. No, that's not how it works. You're not gonna latch onto our community that we created and then kick us out of it. That's not how it works.
About it is they like to be involved in like rap, hip hop, R&B. All that came from us, but no one wants to have that discussion. It's just like, if you're white and you rap, that's fine. However, don't sit here and act like it wasn't from us. It's weird. Same thing when you decide like you're white and you want to wear dreads or wear different stuff like that. Me personally, I'm not going to speak on it. Like, do what you want. However, don't sit here and act like it's something that came from your culture. There was a whole thing people over here saying, oh, dreads came from the Vikings. Dreads came from Egypt. Locks came from Egypt. So I don't know what you're talking about. So
I feel like everyone has a right to dress the way they like, wear they want, talk how they feel, but don't forget that a lot of what you're doing comes from a certain area. I started doing it first, or I started like, no, the clothes you're wearing came from someone else who took hours to make it. The way you're talking, that's who you're around, because we learn a lot from our surroundings. So
I think my number one thing about like cultural appropriation, or just like white people doing like black hairstyles, is that like I feel like if there wasn't a huge problem with stealing from black communities, I would be okay with it. But because people love to change the names or call it ghetto when black people wear it, I'm like, no, then you can't wear it. since you want to call black people ghetto for wearing it, or doing it, you can't wear it either. Cause like it's like if I had like a pen, right, and I let all my friends use my pen. I use my pen, and then I let you use my pen one day, but then the next day I hear you talking crap about me and calling me ugly and telling me that I'm rude. Am I gonna let you use my pen no more?
No.
You can't use my pen because you want to talk smack.
The same thing when, like, if let's say you have a hat and you let your friend use your hat, all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, you look really good in that hat. Be like, yeah, I know. My friend was wearing it, but she didn't really look good with that hat. But it's your hat, though. How I don't look good with my own hat, but when you wear it, it looks good. What? Crazy, baffling.
It kind of just reminds me when it comes to like the culture appropriation thing, how celebrities like to say that, oh, they've been doing it for so long, so it's not their culture, and it just makes me angry. It's like, no, it's not. You started, because take example, Brandy started wearing the braids, you know, the whole like the flat in the back, and then all of a sudden Kim Kardashian's doing it, and then she's like, oh, I've been doing it for so long, like it's
I old news, but when she called cornrows boxer braids, when the black community heard about that, they were like, hold on.
That one, this was back, I think, last year, the year before that. Kylie Jenner was talking about, oh, I started wearing wigs and everybody started wearing wigs. I started doing this and everybody's
right. Like wigs have always been super big in the black community. Like we all know our mama got like at least one of those wigs that looked like she in an old like R&B.
We've been wearing them for the past since 2010 up to now.
And it was like, Kylie isn't much older than the rest of us. She's like 20 or something, like 2021. So she's not much older than the rest of us. So I'm like, how can you start wigs and stuff when wigs have been around before any of us were around?
Right. Like my grandmama was wearing a wig. My great-great-grandmama was big. Listen, the pharaohs in Egypt were wearing wigs. So how did you start it?
So what's crazy, if they look back in history, it was like, let's say hypothetically, if we're not talking about celebrities, these styles have been in place since before you existed, before your mother existed, before your grandma existed, since forever ago. So you didn't start anything. It's just that you happen to wear, people want to act like it's such a new revolutionary thing. Like, oh my God, she's so inspirational. Like, that's not even the case. It's been around before any of us even was thought of. So I'm confused as how you started something. Just because you started wearing and people think it's cute all of a sudden now when it was already good, that doesn't make you a trendsetter. That makes you a thief for thinking that you started to begin with. But
when it comes to celebrities, I don't pay them any mind because a lot of the stuff that comes out of their mouth, they don't know what they're saying, and they want to go. And then just like the wig thing, she probably saw someone else started wearing wigs, and then she wants to wear one day, and then expect that. And her social base is like, oh my God, you look so pretty, like that's a cute wig. And then that's when she says, oh, I started wearing wigs, and then all of a sudden everyone started wearing wigs. It's just like,
and then no, what's the more annoying thing is that when you wear black predominantly black hairstyles, predominantly black clothing styles, and someone sees you and they're like, oh, you're dressing like you have the same fashion as like so and so celebrity, right?
Right.
Oh, I've been wearing stuff like this since I was a very small child. Now that it's popular does not mean that I got it from some stupid celebrity. It means that I'm wearing my culture and I don't care.
It's just crazy because celebrities feel like they're the original. They're always the original people who come up with things and feel as though like, oh, people are following my lead and I'm just, I'm the trendsetter, when really it's not. You found that off someone else who probably didn't have as much of a social base than you, and you feel as though, oh, if I put it on mine, then people are going to see me as very cultured, very like all of that great stuff. But for me, celebrities, like they're just followers, they're bandwagoners. They just, whenever something new comes out, I feel like a lot of the celebrities who go to these to the Black Lives Matter protests are just bandwagoners, because I feel like they actually don't care. They're just doing it because it's in the moment. I watched a girl literally take out
exactly what Black talking about
poster, and she took a picture because she thinks it's a joke.
She was wearing like a Victoria's Secret like bra and like
yeah, and she thought it was a joke, and I was like, wow, this really.
And people were looking at her like, are you serious? Okay, so let's move on to another topic, right? Let's talk about, so as a result of the Black Lives Matter movement and all of that, people have been asking for the country to defund the police, to get rid of the police. What do you think about that?
Okay, if they're going to defund the police, I don't believe like the police system should be gone in general. What I believe they should do, I feel like they should start over in a sense.
Right. Take down the current one and
the only problem with that I can see, because I'm going to look at it from both perspectives. The only problem I can see with that, there are some, very little, but some good cops, and I would be kind of sad for them if they end up losing their job due to the defunding of the police and then the scrapping and doing it, because some of these good cops have been probably cops for like 25 years, 50 years, and it's just like, so I get my job taken away because of them. And in the sense, yes, because you know how they say a few spoiled apples, it's not even a few, it's so many that it's hard to differentiate. Okay, well, we got 75 bad cops and 25 good cops, but the 75 always overpowers the 25,
right?
Because it's more.
The thing I would say about that is that if you are a good cop and you want good things for your community, you should be ready to lay down your badge for it.
Yeah, it's just like, and then
quit your job and lay down your badge for your community.
And on top of that, I feel like it's the government's fault, because just like a lawyer has to go to school for 7 years, study the law front to back, back forward, read it over, and be able to regurgitate it back out. But a cop only has to go to training for a few weeks, maybe a few months, and then boom, there's a badge and a gun. Like, I feel like it should be the same thing implemented in any criminal justice system, even for a judge, for a lawyer, FBI, whatever. I feel like you should have not even basic knowledge.
Everybody has to put the time in except for the police.
Yeah, like, it's like you don't need to know basic. No, you need to know the law front to back, back to forward, because obviously you don't. And that's the reason all this stuff is happening. You use excessive force. That's illegal. You're not supposed to use excessive force unless this person is literally trying to kill you. That's when you'll be able to like slam them into something. But each and every time you've killed a Black person, they have not resisted against you. Or you want to say they did, but when it's video.
Or if they didn't resist at the beginning, the police will do something to instigate them to be aggressive.
Yeah, and it's just like, you can't do certain things to people and expect them not to get aggressive. They're human, just like you're human. You want to implement your authority in an aggressive tone, talking to them like they're subhuman. Of course they're going to get mad. Because I'm pretty sure if the foot was reversed and someone did that to you, you'd be like, who are you talking to? Like, you're not talking to me like that. That's what you're not going to do. So
the thing about defunding the police, okay. Yes, I do believe all cops are bad, because it's not the people that are bad, it's the system that they're protecting, and by inherently protecting that system, they're bad, they're wrong. So yes, we should defund the police. One, not only should we defund the police, we should pull a good majority of their funding once we rebuild the police. Defund them, rebuild the system, and give them an adequate amount of funding so that they won't feel, because the reason police they think they're so empowered is because, one, they have way more funding than the essential things that need funding, and two, they're allowed to do whatever they want because they're protected by a system in which they can do no wrong.
Right.
So
like what Tanya said, yeah, that's what they should do. And at the same time, if no one's really ready to lay down their badge for the people they are you protecting, that just shows that you honestly don't care. Right. Like, I've watched hundreds of people, I've watched cops who said, I'd never lay my badge down for anybody. It's just like, you have a family at home that you would be willing to protect at all costs. But that little quote on the cars that says to protect and serve, I don't think you're following that very well. Because if you're not willing to take the knee or to put your badge down and say, I know what's right from wrong, you've obviously been being taught the wrong thing. Because I know your mama told you what's right from wrong. I know your mama told you, everybody in this world, God said, love thy neighbors, even if how the verse goes. But love everyone in this world, no matter who they are, what color of their skin is, what ethnicity they are. You shouldn't be willing to hate another person just because, I'm getting paid for it. It's okay. Like, it's fine. So yes, we should take it away, but build it up with people who are willing to
With
use
better
the
policies,
that quote protect and serve. Who are willing to protect and serve.
And then my thing is, people will talk about how, oh, the cop was probably scared for his life. The cop was this. It's
If
just
you're
like,
scared
first
that
of all,
easily, should you be a cop?
yeah, like it's just like you're out here saying, oh, I was scared for my life and this, that, and the third. I'm not saying you can't be scared of death. However, do not put yourself in a job where you do have to put your life on the line. That's like someone in the military saying, oh, I accidentally stopped this person because I feared for my life. It's just like, it's okay to be scared. I'm not saying that you're not supposed to be, but at the same time, you're in a job where you're required to put your life on the line to protect the greater good. You chose to be in there. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because that's awesome. You're a saint. Amazing that you want to protect other people. But you can't sit here and use that as an excuse, because this was your choice. You chose to lay down your life. You chose to protect people that can't protect themselves. So why is it each and every time you take a black man's life, or you take a black kid's life, or a black woman's life, who's like, oh, I feared for their life. Oh, I thought they had a gun. And you thought they had a gun, but when they come and search, there was nothing there. So what did you see? Your imagination?
Right. And if you made that fatal mistake, you should be ready to face consequences. You should try to implement yourself with consequences, because you just took an innocent life for something that you thought you saw.
Yeah,
exactly.
My grandmother was a firefighter. I think I've told you this, Anecia. My grandmother was a firefighter, and she put her life on the line every single time she walked into a burning building or even got near a building. She was always so but she has never backlash. Sometimes families would try to fight her because they were in shock and they were scared. Do you think she hit them with any of the materials? Do you think she tried to attack
You've never seen anybody say "fuck the firefighters"?
Exactly.
My grandmother protected and served the community because she knew it was right. And also firefighters have more training than the police.
Firefighters go through way more training.
Sometimes even firefighters have to get involved in cases with police brutality. I remember I saw this person, they lived in Canada, they don't live in America. They said that they saw the police was getting too aggressive with some of the people that they were trying to reprimand. So they called the firefighters, and the firefighters pulled them off.
Like, how is it that, and then I feel like another thing that's horrible about some police system, they don't know how to talk people down.
Right, de-escalation.
It's like, how does every other...
I think police should have a certain degree. Okay, what baffles me beyond this is everybody's taken a psychology class.
Right.
And everybody has taken a higher level psychology class in college.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be someone of law enforcement, lawyers have to take more psychology classes. Why aren't police required the same standards? Why aren't they held up to the same standards?
Right. Exactly. You don't even have to go to college to be a cop sometimes, which is so crazy.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. Okay, on that subject of not going to college, I was talking to my uncle. He's around our age. He told me he's going to go in the police department, and when he does, he's going to go to college after. I was like, you don't have to go to college to be a police officer? He's like, no, you just go to training for a little bit, and then, you get to be a police. Yeah. And then I'm going to finish college. I was like, wait a minute. So you don't need any college at all? He's like, no, you only need a high school diploma. And I was just sitting here like,
yeah, that's how it works. You can be fresh out of high school. I think the training is about 6 to 9 months, depending on where you go.
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. And then
yeah.
You go and you take the police academy test, and then there you go. You start off as a low level, you move up.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they have to be have a master's degree or anything, but at least go to college for 4 years.
Right.
4 years.
And at least get a bachelor's.
Huh?
At least get a bachelor's.
Yeah, at least your bachelor's degree, take a psychology class, take a criminal justice class, take all the type of classes you need for the type of job that you're going in, because you're in the criminal justice system and you're going to be working with people. It just makes sense to know how people work, know how the criminal justice system works, and know how to handle situations. Like when cops deal with people that are mentally, like they're mentally a little slow, they don't know how to handle that situation.
Right.
I
like,
literally,
you've seen the pictures of the guy who has signs all over his house saying that he's autistic, just in case police show up at his house and they have a situation. There was also the video of the mentally disabled guy whose social worker was there, and he was on his hands and he was on the ground, hands up, begging the cops not to shoot him because he was mentally disabled and he didn't understand what was going on.
yeah, and then it's like I watched it, like got Law and Order and stuff like that. I was watching Blue Bloods because these shows are actually pretty accurate to what happens in real life. So I was watching Blue Bloods, and one of the cops, the girl was mentally unstable, and she was a little slow, and she had a knife. She had stabbed her father. Her father wasn't dead though. She stabbed her father, and she was just like freaking out. And then they were yelling at her to get on the ground, and she wasn't getting on the ground. And she was scared. And the dude was like, "Hey, something's not right about her. You need to relax." He was like, "I don't get paid enough for this. She needs to get on the ground." I'm just like, you see something's not right about her, and that she's not quote unquote normal. So it's just like, why are you handling this situation like you would handle with someone who's mentally there? She's not mentally there. Yeah. On top of that, she's in shock.
I think it's not. I think when it comes to the way police act, just like how they're not given, it's not, I feel like it's not just with college courses per se. I feel like it's just with a certain type of, they get trained to just,
in the police academy, they're not accurately trained enough through psychological means.
They're more likely trained for just on physical ways. It's just like how as a doctor, a nurse, or any position, you're trained like you can't show your emotions, and that is hard for you because you want to show them that you feel that. And you also feel that with also not just with firefighters, also they have to willing to be trying to calm you down and show you like that they're here for you, talking in a calm manner. With police officers, is just on physical things. If a guy is pulling out his wallet and they will think it's something else, they'll think, oh, he's pulling out a gun. They're not trained to know that, hey, yes, you're trying to show your authority, but at the same time, don't be so quick to judge someone of color, but also be willing to understand that not a lot of people are normal. It's like a lot of people, like some people like, sir, put your hands up, like, okay, fine. But there are other people out there, like the disabled, who are, you have to have a lot of patience. Every job that is on hand, everyone tells you have to have a lot of patience.
Yeah.
When you're
something being aggressive, but cops don't understand that. Sometimes you're being as cooperative as you can, and they feel like you're being aggressive towards them.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't bring them in unnecessarily.
Like they're like, you're shut up, you're yelling at me, or something like that. And it's just like, I'm not talking like that. I'm talking like this. It's just how you can relate it to your parents. When you talk to your parents, you're just like, you're talking like this, but they feel like, why are you getting an attitude with me? Why are they're so quick to like assume that you're being hostile? Like, it's just, it's just people don't understand that.
It's because they have power and they can't take when somebody comes back at them.
Yeah, they can't take it.
Sense with calamity. Sometimes with these non-neurotypical people who are not like who are mentally disabled, sometimes you can't bring them in unnecessary means. Sometimes you can't put cuffs on them. It doesn't matter if they're dangerous. Sometimes you can't do that because it could cause attacks. They could go into panic attacks. They could be short of breathing, and they can pass out because things like this really, like high tension environments, really freak out people, like non-neurotypicals.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to that, it's just crazy to me because it's just like, you're doing a job that involves people. You should just know how to deal with people. Same thing with teachers. Teachers have to know how to deal with people, and they have to go to school and learn about different things like that. Like that. It's just like anything you do that involves interacting with people, which is most jobs, but like interacting and helping and teaching people, it only makes sense that you're knowledgeable. And when it comes to like cops being fearful of their life, when people like pull out things or they're taking out something, 9 times out of 10, if that person is white, they're going to let them pull out whatever it is. But because you're a person of color, they're automatically going to be, if you're black, person of color, whatever, they're going to go, oh, snap, they put out a gun, they're going to shoot me. But if it was a white person, I've seen so many videos of white people doing worse
Have
than
you
what black
ever
people do.
seen the show Cops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
White people on that show could literally do anything to these cops and they will be taken in safely. It's so crazy. There was this video that went viral of this white man who was swinging an axe at a policeman.
I
He
saw that
didn't
video.
pull out his gun. You're not fearful for your life when someone's swinging an axe at you, but you're fearful for your life when you ask a black person to get their registration, their license, and they're going to get it because you asked them, and suddenly you're in fear for your life when you know what they're reaching for. You've seen too many movies. This is not like Boys in the Hood.
I think that it reminded me of that one scene in The Hate You Give. Like, all he was pulling out was his hairbrush, and the officer automatically assumed that he's being hostile, he's being this, and everything. I feel like everything a black person you would think is harmless.
And last time I checked, it is within our Second Amendment rights to carry and bear arms. So yes, if someone were to have a weapon that is in their car and concealed, there's nothing in the law that says they can't have their weapon in their car and concealed. Nothing.
I like because people always ask me like, because me and Tanya were talking about this earlier when we were on FaceTime, and I was like, we need to defund the police and we need to redistribute that money into the communities where it's higher in crime. It's like people need to stop funding neighborhoods that have lower crime as like a treat. Like, you haven't acted bad today, so here's a candy. We need to treat it like a reality. They need to put this money back into these communities with higher crime so that these kids can get higher education and not resort to crime.
I feel like, what's the point of trying to fund lower communities with lots of crime when it's just they feel like they're just gonna take advantage of it when really they're trying to benefit it. There's a lot of people who feel like they don't feel like they need to do that type of work.
You can't say someone's gonna take advantage of anything. That's what the thing is. What they're trying to make excuses for. You can't say, oh, they're gonna take advantage of it. It's like, okay, it's like with a homeless person that doesn't have anything, hasn't had anything. When you give them something, I've seen homeless people cry because they're so grateful. You can't say someone's gonna take something for advantage of something if you never even gave them a chance to begin with.
Right.
If you haven't given them a chance to have similar to what you have, because we'll never have white privilege. What we're trying to do is get rid of that stigma and hurry up and have people actually be equal to one another. That's the whole point of this whole movement. Because it's like, yeah, there'll probably be white privilege, but if there was just white privilege and it wasn't like the racism part or people stereotyping and stuff like that, because the system was created by white people. So yeah, white people do get different privileges than we do. But it's just like, if you weren't racist, then the white privilege wouldn't be the biggest issue. Like, if you were notable of your privilege, you're like, okay, well, I know that I probably have more rights or more privileges, or the cops won't be scared of me because I'm white. As long as you know that, that's good. That's a start. Because it's like, some people will literally say, oh, white privilege is a myth. But I'm just like, how can it be a myth if the system was made by your people for
it's like people? They're so used to getting everything they want, but so that like getting everything that they want on a daily basis that they can't comprehend the idea of other people not getting it for the same reasons they do. Yeah. So like, I've talked to like y'all about this like multiple times. I have lived in predominantly white neighborhoods, and I've gone to a predominantly white school like I do right now, and I've gone to predominantly POC or predominantly white neighborhoods and gone to predominantly POC or black schools. And the difference is so astounding. The education at the PWIs are so much better. They have better programs and things like that. But the students there do not care about their education or their future.
Oh, yes.
And when you go to predominantly POC or predominantly black schools and neighborhoods, kids work so hard every day. They may seem like they're acting out all the time and being the class clowns, but they get their work done. They usually have a C average, or an A average. I have met so many Black people who act like they don't have any common sense, but are the smartest people you will ever meet because they want a future. They want to get out of these neighborhoods. They want to get out of these underfunded.
Be somebody.
They want to become somebody. But these predominantly white neighborhoods or PWIs, like, they know that they're going to have a future because it might be handed down to them from their father.
And that's what I'm going to say.
Have the white privilege of knowing that they're going to have a career in the future.
Yeah, what I'm saying about that, it's just like, I feel like the reason why Black kids work harder is for the simple fact, it's just like, you know that there's better. Like, you know that your school system is probably like at the bottom of the barrel. So it's just like, you have that drive to do better because you know that there is better. When you're in a PWI or in a private school, you already at the cream of the crop.
Right.
There's nothing else above that, but you know, like,
and then
college,
you're more
like,
likely to get accepted into colleges based on what high school you went to.
So it's just like it's like working hard is like, I'm not saying that kids in private schools don't work hard, but the ones that don't, it's just like, well, I don't really have to. Like, this is the top of this is the cream of the crop. I'm at the best school. There's really nothing else for me to do. As long as I got like a C average, I can make it into a college because I went to Whitmore. I went to this or blah blah blah. I went to a good private school that all these colleges are going to want me.
The staff in PWIs works way less, but they get paid more. And the staff at predominantly Black schools, they work way harder than any other type, but they get paid scraps.
Okay? Like, it's so weird, and that's why Black people and black parents raise their kids a certain way. Like, oh, don't bring home C's. If you got too many B's, it's not good enough. You need to bring home more A's. Like, it's just like they're harder on it.
Better. You need to be better than the white man to get the same thing.
Exactly. So they're just trying. It's not even that your parents is trying to be unfair. It's not they're trying to be unfair. It's not that. Yeah, it's just like they know that they couldn't provide you to go to a cream of the crop school, but they're not going to let that stop you. It's just like, hey, I know how I turned out, but even though you go to this school that isn't the best, you're going to be the best person in that school. You're going to get out of this and you're going to go to a good college if it's the last thing I do. And it's not because they're being unfair, it's because they want better for you, because they know that as soon as you are born a person of color, especially Black, you're already singled out already from birth. You're already.
When I went to the school that you guys went to now, whenever I needed to see the guidance counselor, they would always see me. Like, if they didn't have anybody want them, they would always see me right there. They were always in their offices, always doing whatever they can. Or they would, like, if they saw your grades were dropping, they would call you into the office and be like, hey, like, do we need to move you to another class? Or are these classes too hard? They would try to help you. My guidance counselor right here, I can't even get in contact with her. I would email her. She wouldn't even reply. The only time she would act like she even read the emails, I would go and be like, hey, I emailed you about this. She's like, yeah, I read it. She didn't even reply. She didn't even take the time.
I think it's just when we just live in a world where no matter how hard we try, you always got to try and be 10 times ahead of anyone in front of you. You have to always be twice as smart as the person next to you just to prove that you have the same amount of qualifications as a white woman, same age as you, but from a better home to get that same job or that same internship or that same freaking car. Like, you just have to be better. And that's the type of mindset that kills people, because they feel like, why do I have to try so hard to fit in? When someone else next to me,
like, can't I be mediocre?
Not even a grain of salt into anything they do, and they get everything handed to. I've seen that happen to me multiple times, where I've had to gone to this person, gone to this, had to do this, and the person next to me just simply had to say a few words,
and then that's where the term,
and then they got what they want. And
that's the term Black excellence comes from. Why do you think it's always Black excellence and not white excellence? Because for the simple fact, Black people have to work 10 times as hard as you. Black people have to put in that extra effort. They have to put in that extra studying time. They have to put in this. So it's just like Black excellence, that saying was created because we have to be excellent. We have to be exceptional. We have to be up there. We have to stand out in the sense that, oh my God, they're so smart, or they're so intelligent, because you automatically single us out as being ghetto, uneducated, ratchet, all this different type of stuff. So when we work so hard to get up there, Black excellence is what we're striving for. Because it's like, I don't want to be what you think that I am.
Whenever I tell people about me and my academic journey, they are so surprised that like I try so hard. And I'm like, I know 50 other Black people like me who do the exact same things because we have to. Like, I tell them, listen, I learned to read and write before I even went to first grade, before I went to kindergarten, okay? Because like I tell them, like, when I was in middle school, I was in multiple clubs just so that I could be recognized by like I was always being called to the office for extracurricular activities. I was a student ambassador. I was doing all of these things to look good on paper. And my name, even though it's Trinity, it's still spelled differently, so people will still look at my name and have automatic bias.
I can relate to what you're saying because I went into a job interview and then she was looking at all the extracurricular activities I did. She saw my GPA. This is a white woman.
Mm-hmm.
She saw everything that I did in my past 4 years of high school. And she's like, wow, that's odd. Like, you did so much. And I'm just like, yeah, I worked really hard to try and prove myself to be just as good as the next person. And she's like, oh, that's crazy because there's the way she looked at it, she's just like, I
didn't expect this.
I didn't expect such a well-mannered Black girl to come into my office today and prove me that she has more offered. She brings more to the table than the teenage boy outside waiting with nothing, but just to call it was just a GED. It's just
What
standards you have to have as a Black woman is astronomical. It's really crazy because you have to really put yourself out and you gotta work till you feel like your hair is falling.
And have you ever had straight A's and like been doing all your extracurricular activities? You show your mom your report card or your progress report, and she's like, yes, as you should.
Yeah.
It's like my peers don't all have like A pluses and like doing all these extracurricular activities. She was like, but as you should, as a Black woman, you should be putting yourself above everybody else.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why I don't take straight A's. It's just like, it's not that I don't want to apply myself. It's just that I don't work well under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like having all that pressure on me. Like, I've only made straight A's once in my entire life. And when I think that was like the tier of me like being, I guess, at my highest. But it's like as I got older, it's just like, well, why does all this pressure have to be on me? Why do I have to do better? Like it was
honestly.
And
honestly, I feel liberated because I've had straight A's all throughout elementary, middle school, and even up until my junior year of high school, I've had straight A's. And after I realized that certain things happen which caused me to just stop trying and just give up. But after realizing I really didn't have to try so hard, even though I should, I just couldn't do it. And when you realize you don't have to try so hard, it feels like a weight has been lifted off your shoulder and you just don't care.
And sometimes not giving or not really not giving, when you kind of fall back on like saying not to try so hard, sometimes it does have its turns and events because that weight is lifted, but at the same time you kind of look at it as like maybe I still should have tried harder, but you feel like if I kept doing that I just would have caused more harm to myself. It's just like you can't win whether you pull it back. You feel like, oh, I feel better, but then you think if I pull through, there's that outcome. And it's just like you can never really win whether you think of a situation in two different or multiple solutions because it's never going to weigh out.
Right.
You're still going to feel like you're still going to be lost at words of, is there something else I could have done, or is there a different path I could have taken? It's just you can never really win with the problems that comes with like you get put in.
The last thing I want to say, because I think Trinity might have another question, but the last thing that I want to say is like my dad told me this, I think when I was from the age of like 14, maybe 13 to now. It's like when you're a Black man, you have one stripe. You're Black. You being a man, is almost like a privilege in this society because you automatically get paid more than women in every area. When you're a woman, especially a Black one, you have 3 strikes. You're Black, you're a woman, and you're a woman. The woman is 2 strikes. The simple fact, 1, you get paid less, and 2, you're overly sexualized. You have to fear for your life. You have to clench for your purse. You can't go out late at certain times by yourself because of fear of getting kidnapped or raped and stuff like that. And then on top of that, you're Black, so you're automatically discriminated against. So we always said you have 3 strikes in life. You're Black, you're a woman, and you're a woman. So you automatically have to work hard. You have to be able to defend yourself. You have to be able to do things 10 times better than a man can do of anything.
The worst thing you could be in white America is a person of color, a woman, and gay. That is the ultimate death sentence.
Yup. Exactly. And imagine being 2 out of those. Imagine being all 3 out of those. You see exactly. Like you automatically, it's just like, wow. All of us, we're 2 out of those. And then you, it's all 3, all across the freaking board. So it's like, if you can't win, if you're any of those, just try harder.
Okay, my last question is, what do you want to see? Like, what is your perfect world in the future? Like, and be realistic, okay? Like, take all of your intellectual, think about what you know about politics and the law, and what's your perfect world look like?
If I'm talking about a perfect world while being realistic, because I'm a pretty realistic person, somewhat pessimistic in some senses, but I don't think racism is going anywhere. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't. I think it'll always going to be a factor. However, I do believe that if we were doing what we're doing and we go about it the correct way, that the number of people who aren't racist can outnumber the people who are racist. There will be people, but it's just like if we educate people correctly and we're the majority and racist people are the minority. If we make racist people the minority in America, America would not be as bad.
Also, we shouldn't put racist people in positions of power because even if they're the minority, they can still do a lot of damage.
And yeah, so I'm just like, if we do this to a sense that we're punishing people, like example, our president, is racist, he's sexist, and he's pretty much an idiot. So it's just like you let someone like that in a position of power. That's weird. Like, how did you let that happen? And the only reason they put him in office was because they had Obama in office, and all those racist people were mad they had a Black person in office, so they were taking anything they could get, and they didn't want a woman in office. So it's just like they were like, we'd rather have a less than intelligent man in office than have an intelligent woman. And I'm not saying that Hillary was like amazing or anything, but I
was the better of 2 evils.
Yes, I would have preferred her, the better of 2 evils. I would have preferred her over Donald Trump because half the time that man doesn't know what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. So, in my perfect society,
half the time, does he know what he's talking about any of the time?
So, I believe that the perfect society is racist people are the minority. People that are racially that understand racial issues are supportive of LGBT and all that are in positions
they should teach a class in high school that is required about racial issues.
Exactly. It's just like I feel like my perfect society, that too, I feel like the perfect society also in the school systems, they're not showing us this watered down version of history. They need to show us the actual points in history that make sense to know, because half of us didn't know that the riots that were going on happened 2 other times in history.
More than 2 other times. More than 2.
Telling us. So my perfect society is like that. Racist people are the minority. The people who have some sense and are actually for everyone and quote unquote don't see color are the majority. People that are in power care about all people, not just people who look like them. And on top of that, police are required to take at least 4 years of college and know about the psychology of the human brain, and also know about criminal justice system. And that people teach us the history that we're supposed to know, no matter how gruesome, no matter how horrible that it is. That's something people need to know. It's not like, oh, we're trying to shelter them. You don't need to shelter anyone. You're not their parents. You need to tell them what happened in history. You need to tell them the evils that happened in this world, because that's the only way we won't repeat history. And to be honest, we've been repeating history for 400 years straight. Mm-hmm. So that's what my society looks like.
Okay, who wants to go next?
I mean, quite literally, that's actually very accurate to what I was thinking. But about the whole people who don't see color thing, yes, I want you to see color, but appreciate the color. Because it's not about not seeing color. It's about the lack of appreciation and the lack of consciousness for that color. So, and yeah, we need to really reform the education and demilitarize the police, put our funding where our funding needs to be. And yes, the majority of us should be, I wouldn't say woke, but like the majority of us should know the problems. And honestly, it's just, we shouldn't have to be fighting for things that you should automatically, like that saying, you can't expect to get a reward for something you should already be doing.
Right.
So for something that's expected, it should not be like rewarded or like, it's just a common sense. It has to happen. We have to normalize common sense.
TikTok does that a lot when they be like, oh my God, he's a king and stuff like that. I'm not saying those things are bad. Like when a white dude is like very educated and that they're hyping him up.
As you should. You should normalize this.
Yes,
I'm
not racist, but you want a fucking cookie, as you should.
It's basic common sense. You should not be racist, and therefore I'm not going to reward you for it. Yeah, sure, I'll be like, oh my God, king, but like, not going to reward you for it.
You're right. Ramona?
I waited till everyone went first. I understand that we're supposed to describe a perfect society. We already live in one where what you guys say are mindlessly dreams. We live in a world where this is Black people trying to fight for their living. If this was white people, this would have been done already.
Right.
We live in a world where this is just what we hope and pray would happen.
Right.
But we have to remember that people will never, no matter how hard we try, how hard we fight, how many people of our own people die fighting for this, that it will never, I don't want to say it won't happen, but when you got the mindset that no matter how hard you try in life, you'll never succeed, no matter how hard you push and fight for what you believe in, it'll never work. We live in a world where the white man feels like he has the most authority. He has the right to say he has the right to say who gets to eat, who gets to sleep, who gets to do this, who gets to do that under his will. We live in a world where we say these things, I want equality, I want freedom, I want this, and we're given it for just a euphoric moment, but at the same time we know it'll never last.
But that's what we're fighting for. We're Gen Z, bro. If we can eat Tide Pods, we can make a revolution happen.
Okay, no, but at the same time, life is never easy to begin with. Everyone knows that everything you go into has a consequence, it has everything in it. And yes, we are Gen Z, yes, we fight for it, but because of the color of our skin, will people really listen to us? Will they? With the type of predominantly white people we have there, will they really?
Then we burn it down and we start over.
You just get out. So I think that fighting, yes, we can keep doing that. We can keep trying, keep going. If we make it, which I know we will, because Black over everything. But it's at a point when you've been taught that kind of mindset and you've been seeing history repeat itself just with different little things add on to it. It's kind of like, will this really end? Yeah, we're fighting. We're fighting for what we believe in and what we want. At the same time, is it really being taken into account?
Right. Okay. I'm gonna end this last part by talking about my fantasy world. I want to get rid of the police, and I want to implement a new, more progressive security type organization in their place. I want to have a progressive tax system, socialism, implement democratic socialism into this country. I want the people who run this country to look more diverse, so that instead of having a bunch of white men guessing what they can do for the minority communities, the minority communities can have a voice in what they actually do. I want it to be easier for younger generations to have a say in politics. I wouldn't say, lower the voting age. I'm just saying, if you're gonna let a 15-year-old kid have a baby and live in the society, you might as well let her vote at the same time, so that she can vote for the future of her child. And that's basic. I want to fund higher criminal rated communities. I want these kids to get educations to get out of these situations, you know? And on that note, that's the end of the podcast. I want to end this by saying that by the time this comes out, the first chapter of my book, Our American Dream, will be out. It's a book that me and Tania are writing. She is my executive. And you can find it on Wattpad under the username Trinity Norris. Got to get that self-promo in. It has a lot of conversations about things that we're talking about now. The LGBTQ community, Black and white people's interactions with each other, and how economics work and how society works against Black people. The cast of the book is very diverse, so you should check it out. Everybody say goodbye.
Ciao.
Okay, that's it.
Oof.